I can read this, O Susumi Joe, and this is the town hall. And this clock stopped at 3:15. And these two buildings, the one which I saw before and this one, they are adjacent buildings. Now this clock did not stop with the earthquake. This stopped when the tsunami water hit the clock. So it stopped at that time. So we know exactly when the tsunami, and you can see this is quite at the second floor, top of the second floor. So, and this is a little bit away from the coast, but still the water came up to this and damaged this clock and stopped there. I mean, this is just one, photo here, picture. But you might have seen lots of boats, birds at the top of buildings and all those kinds of things, cars and everything else. So, and these photos, as I said, I took in October, in first week of October. And this is, 7 months after the earthquake and the tsunami. This is a cemetery. And I heard this story, it's rather a sad story, that communities, people who were living around this area, when they saw the tsunami waves coming, they tried to move up. This is on a higher ground, but there are lots of elderly people. They just couldn't walk and they couldn't go up, so they were pets because they just couldn't go up. So it's quite a sad story there. So people tried to escape, but they could not. Because they were not physically fit enough. And that also tells us that there was a lot of elderly communities in this part of Japan. As you know, Japan is becoming an aged society very, very fast. Now this is a picture, this with this young guy who has been very actively involved in anti-nuclear movement in Japan. We have heard about Occupy Wall Street and Occupy, what's in Sydney, Macquarie Place or something like that. So this guy has been actively involved in Occupy Tokyo and Occupy METI, which is the Ministry of Economic, Trade and Industry. Actually, and this particular place is just outside this government building, METI, and this is illegal to occupy this public place, but they have been there since March last year, and they said they are not going to go away from there. Although they have had several warnings and notices from government and from police, but they said that they are not going to move from there. So this is something which is happening in Japan. Another picture of these people inside the tent. They have a tent there. There is no electricity, nothing. It was so cold when I went there in Tokyo. That year actually it was snowing in January. There is no electricity, nothing. You see, this is a Japanese called kotatsu. It's a kind of low table, and they have got blankets around, so put your feet inside to keep yourself warm. And there are two actually tents, one for in one tent, girls or women, they sleep at night time, and another tent where men sleep at night time. But this is a kind of permanent feature, and somebody is always there. And people come by, some people bring food, some people putting some money in the box, so they are supporting these guys to be there. Okay, now let me go to the next. This picture I didn't take, so it's from one of. Now, there are actually, I think there are two types of crises here. One is arising from the earthquake and the tsunami. The other arising from the nuclear, what we know as meltdown. There are some common issues, others are very specific. Common issues, for example, death, arising from earthquake and tsunami, in particular loss of property, unemployment, I have talked about. and small and medium-sized industry in particular. There is no actually big industry in this area. They are all medium and small size industry, agriculture, fishing, those kinds of things, and displacement and resettlement of these people. There are some specific issues related to the nuclear radiation and the issues about compensation and what will be the long-term impact of this radiation and what will be the long-term effect of radiation. Now, the immediate challenge or immediate challenges are reconstruction and rehabilitation. Now, I just want to give you some figures. There are about 310,000 people from these areas who are living either in temporary shelters or in public housing or with their relatives and friends. And these people are not just living in these prefectures, but throughout 47 prefectures of Japan, from Hokkaido to Okinawa. So 310,000 people. And if you include people who are in hospitals or sick, the figure which I had was about 330,000 people. You can define them as displaced people. So the problem is enormous. I have talked about the issue of employment. As you know, the Japanese economy is not doing very well. So unemployment is a huge issue. And these people, they just cannot move to other parts of Japan and find a job for themselves because the job market in Japan is very tight. The Japan of 2012 is not the Japan of the 1980s, where there were 2 jobs for 1 person in Japan. Now, so that situation has changed quite dramatically in Japan. Employment, industrial reconstruction. Now, Japan has been facing a depopulation of regional towns and cities. And that's why I said that in most of these places, I said they were elderly people, because most young people, they leave for bigger cities or for Tokyo or for Osaka. They don't live and they don't work in the fishing industry or in the agricultural sector. So as a result of this, there will be greater depopulation of regional towns. As a matter of fact, some of these areas have become almost uninhabitable.